Welcome, everyone. So for the next 20-25 minutes or so, we look at what domain-driven design is, and then why we need cell-based architecture to tackle some of the complexities that you get while managing microservices at scale, and then overview of the cell-based architecture, and then how Choreo merges domain-driven design with cell-based architecture. So before we get started, introduction about domain-driven design. So primary concept of domain-driven design is to basically tell we should model our software around the business domain, and then put business in front and center of designing software when you are delivering business capabilities. And the core principle around this is basically this bounded context, which is like a fence around a business domain, and also the aggregates of that domain, which is like the building blocks that are used to build this domain. And also another important part is when you are putting software in front of business, we need a common language between the business folks and the developers, and that is what is meant by the ubiquitous language. So why we need this language is that if we take different business domains, even a single entity like a customer or a product, etc., can mean different things in different contexts. Like, for example, if you get a customer entity from a sales context, we might want to attach different data sources, different behaviors for that. And it can mean different things when you're talking about from a support function, support domain point of view. And then domain-driven design helps us to separate these two or separate these multiple concerns in a clean manner. Again, most of the domain-driven design, the aggregates or the building blocks are written using microservices, right? So microservices has been helping us along the way to do great things. And then when basically microservices gives us independence so that when we bundle microservices, we can have independent services that are responsible for supporting different business functions. And also, it's very easy to scale compared to a monolithic program. And also, it gives us the freedom to use different technology stacks when we are developing different business capabilities. But the problem is when we handle microservices at scale, it becomes unmanageable because it leads to governance complexities. It leads to overhead of inter-service communication. Basically, when you have multiple microservices talking to each other, managing that at scale is a problem. And then it's when you have a sprawl of services, it's difficult to align that with the business goals. So from one end, you have this monolithic, like a clean monolithic program, and on the other end, when microservices start scaling, that basically becomes completely unmanageable. So the diagram that you see on the right is from 2019. So at that time, so this is a presentation done by Uber during SRE-Con. So that's their kind of the microservices architecture. So that this architecture has about 1,000 microservices, and then they were averaging about their development team was averaging about 1,000 commits per day for this set of microservices. So we need a better way to be able to manage and then govern these services. So cell-based architecture is basically gives that promise and gives a clean way of managing and then governing these services. So author of our cell-based architecture is basically our current CTO and the former CTO, Asanka and then Paul. So if you want to know more about cell-based architecture, I encourage you to talk to Asanka and then pick his mind on this. So at the heart of the cell-based architecture is what we call is cell. So what a cell gives is basically gives like a bounded context for grouping microservices into cohesive deployable units. And then inside this, on the top right-hand side, you have this octagon shape, which represents the cell. And then inside it, we have, in cell-based terminology, we call it as component. And this component can be microservices. And then each component can scale independently of each other. And then component can also represent not only microservices, but data sources, queues, gateways, etc. And also one of the design principles of the cell-based architecture is that when you have microservices inside a cell or inside a business domain, and the microservices, when these microservices want to talk to external entities, those should be exposed via a managed API gateway. And on the diagram on the bottom is basically how each cells can communicate with each other, and then that also exposed through a gateway, and then it can be done through APIs, events, or streams. So this gives a nice kind of framework to move from a monolithic architecture to a distributed architecture. So Choreo basically implements cell-based architecture and gives a reference implementation for the conceptual paper. So Choreo is basically your primary driver for Choreo is basically to speed up how we build, deploy, and manage services and applications. I think we have several talks aligned today as well to discuss different aspects of Choreo. So it's simplified platform engineering, CI/CD, observability, governance, etc. And then basically to help organizations and developers to accelerate this digital transformation journey. So how basically Choreo implements this is by kind of marrying data-driven, domain-driven design into cells by treating bounded context from the domain-driven design as a cell. So that encapsulate the kind of the what do you call the bounded context, the kind of the fence around the business domain, and also the building blocks that goes inside the domain, inside the cell. And of course, cell kind of gives a modularity to treat business domains as different modules by grouping microservices and also gateways, data sources into that single unit. And then from a management, development, and governance point of view, a team can own these cells, or teams can own multiple cells, and then work and then release independently of each other. So this leads to kind of a cohesive domain aligned with clear boundaries. So one of the questions when we talk about domain-driven design, and then when we talk about cells, is that customers ask us, if I don't do domain-driven design right now, does that mean whether I can't use Choreo? So answer for that is no. So you don't have to do domain-driven design in order to adapt Choreo. There are a couple of strategies that you can use to identify the cell boundaries. So first one, of course, is basically mapping the domain-driven design bounded context as cells. You can also use microservices that are managed by different teams and then make that into its own cell. Or based on component interactions, and then based on the dependency graph, you can treat that as a single cell and then make that boundary or move that as a cell in Choreo. Also, it can be based on business capabilities or different line of businesses that you might have based on finance, marketing, engineering, etc. Also, you can categorize cells by different, like if you have business logic running, you can treat that business logic as a complete cell. And then if you have integration services, you can treat that as a integration cell, a data cell, a legacy cell, etc. So from a Choreo point of view, Choreo doesn't enforce any strict kind of policy or strict kind of rules how you break down cells. So it's up to you to figure out based on what works for you. So functionality highlights from Choreo's cell-based implementation. So deployment, on the deployment front, you can treat a cell as an immutable unit that you deploy through a CI/CD pipeline. And then you can scale the cell independently of each other. And then you can govern the APIs that have been exposed in the cell. And then observability, again, it's built in. So Choreo basically maps this cell to a project. So when you go to Choreo console and then create a project, that becomes that own cell. And then within the cell, within the project, you can have multiple services, web applications, and other microservices to capture that part of the business domain. So here in this case, we've been using kind of the line of business coin marketing as a cell boundary. So benefits for developers and enterprises. So this basically simplifies kind of the workflow and then speed up kind of the innovation. Developers don't have to worry about infrastructure aspects. So it's a clean way for developers to bring in their existing services and then through clear boundaries, clear interfaces, exposing it to outside and other internal services. And for enterprises, this gives basically agility, faster response to market, and then faster delivery of business capabilities. So important point here is basically without this cell boundary, it's very difficult to enforce design time governance at runtime. So what I mean by that is domain-driven design gives us the kind of the design time governance view, right? So you model your business, you model your domains based on the line of businesses or bounded contexts, but how do you enforce that in runtime? So the cell implementation of the cell architecture gives that flexibility where you can enforce outbound traffic, enforce inbound traffic through well-defined interfaces, etc. So this results in a composable cloud-native enterprise architecture. So another frequent question that we get is when we are discussing this with customers, can I implement cell-based architecture without using Choreo? Do you have a reference architecture if I want to build cell-based architecture in my organization? Can I do that without like buying a product, right? So answer is yes. So this is kind of the architecture that you have to build in order to implement a cell-based architecture. I think Lakmal, who's kind of the architect on this, will give more details. But this has the octagon shape, which is the kind of the cell, and then there are external API gateways that expose a well-defined interface, and then of course there's an egress gateway that allows you to microservices within the cell to talk to external services, and then the traffic is encrypted through WireGuard, and then we'll go into more details on this. So to summarize, DDD provides kind of the domain focus, and cell-based architecture adds like the structure for that and gives the implementation level enforcement on the design time choices. And then Choreo kind of operationalize this through a powerful internal developer platform, and then embrace kind of modularity for your digital transformation projects.